Goodness gracious, Naughty Dog, you guys are the GOATs. I think they just cemented themselves as one of the greatest of all time. Like they weren't already, right? They have made phenomenal game after phenomenal game. And today's Last of Us Part 2 previews showed their new chops, which are upgraded over their old chops, which were already fantastic. But there was something missing. And there was something that was a huge bummer to a lot of fans out there, and particularly to me. Naughty Dog decided to drop multiplayer from The Last of Us 2. After saying to be a part of the game at E3 2018, they came out in these previews from this press event and said, nope, it is a single player only experience. Now, they did confirm it's their biggest game ever. They've poured so much into the story. It's a massive title. No multiplayer was a huge bummer. And that frustration was echoed across the Twitterverse. I saw plenty of people very, very sad that Factions multiplayer would not be a part of Last of Us 2 because it was so diverse and so fun. But okay, let's get to the important news here. Naughty Dog are the GOATs because they came out tonight and addressed this concern. And I don't think I've seen a faster response from a dev in a long time, if ever. We wanted to address multiplayer in The Last of Us Part 2. As we've stated, the single-player campaign is far and away the most ambitious project Naughty Dog has ever undertaken. Likewise, as development began on the evolution of our Factions mode from The Last of Us Part 1, the vision of the team grew beyond an additional mode that could be included with our enormous single-player campaign. Wanting to support both visions, we made the difficult choice that The Last of Us Part 2 would not include an online mode. However, this is where they save the day and reassert themselves as the kings of the gaming court. However, you will experience the fruits of our team's online ambition, but not as part of The Last of Us Part 2. When and where it will be realized is still TBD, but rest assured, we are as big a fan of Factions as the rest of our community and are excited to share more when it's ready. Boom, baby! Last of Us multiplayer is coming back. It's not going to be in that box with The Last of Us Part 2 in February of next year. It's not going to be on Disc 1, it's not going to be on Disc 2. It probably won't be seen for a long time, but we're going to get it. Which is so freaking great, because I had so many awesome memories with that multiplayer. Did you guys even get a chance to play it? I don't know, it was such a fun, unique time, and more than just being a fun game, it extended the vision and the experience of The Last of Us. Because The Last of Us single player, it's finite. Yeah, you can play it again and again, but your first experience is finite. Multiplayer allowed not only for unique gameplay to exist, but it allowed that universe to carry on. It allowed us to live in Joel and Ellie's world for a whole lot longer, for as long as we wanted, which I think was really special. And it was such a cool, visceral mode to exercise all of those awesome attacks with baseball bats and heavy weaponry against enemies who were actual people. It was pretty sweet and pretty satisfying, and I was nervous/excited for how grisly the multiplayer combat was going to be, given what we've seen from Ellie tearing it up in Seattle in these single-player previews. Now, we're not going to get to see that at launch, but I'm so pumped that it's going to be there eventually. I wonder how it'll work, if it'll be something where it's DLC for The Last of Us Part 2, if it's totally standalone, if it's going to even be tied to Part 2. I would think that Naughty Dog would keep it within The Last of Us franchise because it only makes sense given what Factions began as, and that's such a popular IP. Now they basically can release 2 games. I don't know if they'll charge $60. I could see it being free to play with microtransactions, but Naughty Dog doesn't seem to be that kind of a developer, so maybe they'll just release it as a standalone mid-price game, or maybe it'll be DLC for Last of Us Part 2 come holiday, or maybe it'll be tied into the launch of PlayStation 5 and get raring and ready for the inevitable crossover Last of Us Part 2 PS5 launch title. I really think that's happening. I wonder if that's part of the reason this is on 2 discs. It's so massive, it's so beautiful, and it's going to be such a nice conversion to PS5, and maybe they bring multiplayer out then to sweeten the deal. So it's not just Last of Us Part 2 looking a little prettier, but it's Last of Us Part 2, not Game of the Year edition, although I think it's going to win Game of the Year, but like big new console edition. Welcome to Next Gen edition, this time with multiplayer back. This is such a relief and such good news for me because I view Naughty Dog as kind of the pinnacle of game designers. They sit at the top. You know, it was Ken Levine and Irrational, that's no more, and Naughty Dog for me. I really love what Sony Santa Monica does with God of War. I think they're right up there. Naughty Dog's a little more prolific than they are, putting out a bunch of Uncharted's and The Last of Us and who knows what's next. But I really thought that Last of Us Part 2 was going to multiplayer, so I didn't pay attention to the server shutdown for Factions from Last of Us 1. I thought I'd get to play it. And this morning I was getting ready to make a video talking about we'll never play Last of Us multiplayer again. I don't know that Naughty Dog has it in them to do a third Last of Us. I mean, never say never, but it seems like they're pouring so much emotion into this one, and maybe they're ready to move on from Drake and Ellie. I thought we'd never get to play it again because the servers for Factions in Part 1 were shut down. We're not getting it in 2, but now we are. And so we'll get to play it again. Someday, somewhere. Maybe it won't be at the launch of PS5. Maybe it'll be beyond that. Maybe Sony will save it for a needed slot when they need an exclusive in 2021. Who knows? But I'm so glad that Naughty Dog, that they're this kind of developer. Now, I don't think this is a case of them just reacting to the online upset and saying, oh no, we'll make it happen. It really sounds like it was a part of their package. Then it got removed because of time, dollars, efforts, who knows. And it was planned to be reintroduced later on. Maybe they just weren't ready to state that. But now they've come forward and done just that, which is so freaking exciting. I guess there's a small chance that maybe this is a reactionary thing and like, hey, they had to scrap it, now they're going to double down because they realized how much people loved it. But I feel like Naughty Dog, I feel like they really do what they believe in, what they want. So I gotta think that this is a part, or has always been a part of their plan, and they just, they couldn't fit it on the discs because they didn't have the time or the manpower, but they always planned to have it there, and now they're just letting us know, and it's so freaking great. Talking about the previews a little bit, they look fantastic as well. I think it's amazing how good that game looks. If you compare it to Last of Us 1, the leap is incredible, and the best example is that prone mode. Like, that is an evolution of game design and game control and third-person action mechanics. I think it looks fan-freaking-tastic. I thought that they stayed pretty close to the chest, pretty comfortable in what they showed, that it felt very similar to The Last of Us. I mean, they didn't dive too deep into what makes it different. In fact, Neil Druckmann said they're going to try and keep things under wraps to not spoil the bigger, better parts of the game and what makes Last of Us Part 2 very special. But we did get to see a new infected enemy, which I'm very, very excited about. The Shambler looking real nice. I love this idea that stealth is required, but it's going to be an agitated stealth. It's going to be an anxious stealth. You got to keep moving because now there's dogs that can smell you. You leave a sniff track around as you wander, which I think is kind of funny. It reminds me of like a reverse Fable breadcrumb trail. Ellie just leaving her scent all over the place, marking her territory so those dogs can eventually mark her. And it looks like you're going to have to mark them with a lot of weaponry because they are vicious. And they've got this whole system where they're naming the NPCs, the enemy NPCs, so that they have more emotional weight and more, they seem more real. They want violence to be at the center of the conversation and want you to question your kills and want you to feel something, no matter if it's the smallest inconsequential enemy or it's a big boss type character. And it sounds like there will be both. Plenty of Seans and Johns that end up getting shot and their friends or their dogs are sad or worried or frustrated. And then there will be the big titular characters that are part of cutscenes and that, have more weight to their emotional demise or eventual end. I'm glad to see crafting and resource hunting double down and get more emphasis. I love that in Last of Us 1. I love that in so many games, and I really wanted more. And it looks like you're going to have more choice, that there's more diversion in how you choose to play, that you can up stuff like your prone speed, which I think is a great stat to improve. You've got silencers and you can make them stronger, better. I'm sure there's plenty of things with the different weaponry. That workbench looks great. A great way to focus on the gun and the detail that Naughty Dog brings to their art assets. I was surprised that they didn't focus more on maybe the open-ended nature of certain segments, but again, they want to keep things under wraps, and it felt like mechanics were the focus here. And it's an interesting but smart choice, because for me, I love the mechanics of Last of Us 1, so I knew I was going to love the mechanics of Last of Us 2. But I recall a lot of people saying that they didn't feel that the gameplay in Last of Us was all that strong. Now, maybe that was a case of just playing devil's advocate to a beloved title that everyone was just splooging over when it initially released, but I do believe that there are people that don't think The Last of Us 1 has great gameplay. And so the team at Naughty Dog wanted to emphasize, hey, we've doubled down. We've added options. We've made this great. And previews stated that prone gameplay is the best they've ever seen. And going from laying down to standing up, throwing something on your back, getting knocked over, shooting from your back, getting up, rushing in for a stab or a brick throw, it looks incredible. Apparently it feels incredible, and I'm so sad that I didn't get to play it. But it's pretty close. 5 months away. They said that they will be revealing more as we approach launch, but not everything, which is good. I like their approach. I wish one of the things they were revealing was multiplayer, but going from 0 to at least we're going to get it at some point is a humongous step up. The game alone is going to be amazing, and while I wish that multiplayer was a part of the initial package, I'm so grateful and thankful and happy that Naughty Dog are going to work on it and eventually realize a new version of Factions. So underrated, so many good moments, and like I stated at the top, it lets The Last of Us world exist for longer. It lets us experience the fun of that place, that environment, that immersion for as much time as we want. The finite adventure of Ellie in Last of Us Part 2 will be a roller coaster. It'll be memorable, it'll be remarkable, but it will have an ending. Factions doesn't have to, and that's what I really liked about it. And I personally like the mechanics, so it was fun to see them carried across to a very intense, deliberate multiplayer mode that brought me a lot of joy. So thank you, Naughty Dog, for standing up and being the best. Not many people can do the games that you do. Very, very few across the globe. But then you also do the fans a solid, and you don't only come through with a phenomenal single-player mode and a great story that promises to evoke emotion, but you're also delivering what we want in the form of multiplayer, and you address it and handle it the same darn day. That is a gold star effort. I applaud it, I love it, and they're back in the throne room as far as I'm concerned. Let me know your take on multiplayer coming eventually. Where do you think we'll see it? PS5 launch, standalone, DLC, full new title? What is your thoughts on that? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and are excited that multiplayer's back. Goodness gracious. I love that I woke up today, watched all the preview coverage, and was about to make a video called I Can't Believe Last of Us 2 multiplayer is canceled. And here we are talking about how it's right back at us. I love it so much. I love you. Drink so much. Until next time, everybody, have a fantastic day. Thanks again, and we will see you all later.